So I've got a couple of Telecaster kind of guitars, like that one right there. And then I got this one right here, which is a no name, but it's one that a friend built for me about 30 years ago. That has a Warmoth neck on it, very nice neck. And then what I've got are some guitars that are Telecaster style guitars. Like there's the body and there's the neck, but you know, it's not really that classic shape. You can see here is where I started chipping away at it. So this video is how to carve your headstock to look like a Telecaster if you don't have a shop's worth of professional tools. So what I've done here, you can download, if you Google Telecaster headstock template, you can print off a template of a Telecaster headstock and then cut it out and lay it over your existing headstock and trace out the line that the template will provide you. So then you get the Telecaster shape. Now I don't have like a bench or anything like that, but what I do have is this clamp, this C-clamp, right, just like that, right? And I take a dish towel and put it on the neck to protect it, and then just clamp it to my desk, you know, where my computer is and my speakers and all that stuff. And it's on there pretty good. Now, the next thing is using what is called a coping saw. Now, there are some videos on YouTube that maybe there's only one. This will probably be the second one that show you how to use a coping saw to do this, rather than a bandsaw or a table saw, or you know, those kind of things that you used in shop class, maybe if you ever took shop class, but that you don't generally have at home. Okay, so I'm going to open this thing up and get it ready. Give me a second. Okay, so got my saw prepared. If you don't know how to use a coping saw, there are videos on YouTube how to use a coping saw, and I recommend you check that out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin cutting, following this line as best I can, starting right here. And that, just have to get the saw to dig in a bit. It is digging in. Of course, now it's hitting against the, okay, I didn't count on that, so let's try it down here. I'm going to cut around here. I'm not going to necessarily start here and come around, but I'm going to try to cut some chunks out of this along the line, and then I'll just clean it up as I go along. Okay, so there's the first chunk. Now I guess we'll start with this chunk right here. All right, there's chunk number 2. Next, I guess I'm going to try this one right here. Oh wait, I can't. What I got to do is loosen the clamp, loosen up the clamp, and give me some neck. Yeah, give me some neck there. And just tighten the clamp back up. It's still in there pretty good. So we continue. All right. All right, I'll come back when we're a little closer to the end. All right, so as you can see, I got a chunk of it cut out. Reason I cut it there is because the blade was starting to bind. Now, I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but what you would like is a 90-degree angle from the top. But as you can see, this kind of, and a better cut than this, but it kind of is not all 90 degree. It kind of tilts a little when it gets to, around here. There's a little bit more on the back side than there is on the front side. So anyway, I'm going to continue with the cut. See you shortly. Okay, so first time with the coping saw. Bent the blade, cheap blade. Usually the blade that comes in the saw it'll do the job, but it's kind of worthless. As you can see, it looks more like a Telecaster, but my rough cuts here, this is going to require a lot of sanding, a lot of hand sanding, and it's still not going to look perfect. From a distance, it'll probably look fine, but yeah, it probably is not going to look like a, get up close, it won't look like a perfect Telecaster headstock, but I'll come back when I've sanded it down. Okay, so I've been sanding on this for a while using one of these files. I don't even know if this is really the thing to use. This seems more like closer to a finishing file than what I need, but I got this more round. I still need to cut some there. I really don't want to have to even sand that much. And got this not too bad. It's gonna look a little hokey. I mean, this guitar is set up with a high nut for slide, so it's not like I'm gonna be using it constantly, but as you can see, the back, wipe off some of that residue. The back, let me see if I can show you this a little better. I'm sanding on the tailgate of my truck, by the way. See the back, it has an angle to it all the way around pretty much, so I have to basically, let's see if I can hold this with my legs, flatten this out so that it's like straight. All right, we'll come back. All right, so here's the neck, the headstock. I've been sanding it by hand with some 60 coarse sandpaper. Looks like a kind of like a bran muffin, if you know what I mean. There's a latch like this on the other side of the truck bed, and that's what I've got the neck clamped with, so I can just sand it by hand. And I've been actually using this fret file and just wrapping it in the coarser sandpaper, so you can always figure out a solution. And I'm gonna keep shaping this and smoothing it out, and we'll take another look in a minute. Okay, so there we have it. Not perfect, but good enough for my purposes. It looks good on this surface. It's a little deep in there, a little bit, not too bad, but I've got a little contour in there. But you can see, there's some things I couldn't sand out easily, and that still needs a little finish, a little more sanding with some finer grade paper. But it looks way more like a Telecaster than it did at the start, and that's what counts. All right, so one last thing. There's the neck back on the guitar. I ended up smoothing this surface out as well because it was a sharp angle. And as you can see, this is a square, but it's a rounded angle. It's supposed to be rounded. So rounded that out. Did just some final sanding with some 500 grit. Still, it's not perfect. I'm probably not going to put any finish on it. Excuse me. And there you have it. Good luck with your project. Let me know how it goes.